Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Davis and you're watching Fight Network's Year in Review on the Sweet Science. Coming up on the show, we'll review the best fights, best fighters, and the top 5 knockouts of the year. To get it all started, let's take it over to boxing analyst Corey Erdman, who's standing by with Ryan RG Grant. And guys, how will 2012 go down in history for boxing?
Well, I think we were given a lot of memorable moments in 2012, but unfortunately, I think 2012 is going to be remembered for the emergence of steroid use and performance-enhancing drugs in the sport of boxing. Unfortunately, we've had major fighters test positive for steroids. Of course, they've been around before, but now we have guys like Lamont Peterson and Andre Berto testing positive. RG, what do we have to do in order to get this out of the sport completely?
I think what needs to get done when you're trying to clean up the act of drugs and steroid use in boxing is probably have random testing. Maybe that might clear a little gap. When you see a fighter like Lamont Peterson step in the ring, he's not a guy that looks like he takes any type of supplements or drugs at all. In comparisons to when you see a guy like Andre Berto, his muscle projection is a little bit more huge in comparisons to the rest of the welterweights in the division. So maybe some random testing, but they got to do something now because boxing never had such a black eye when it comes to drug testing.
Well, the one guy who's taking that step forward has been Nonito Donaire, who now has 24/7, 365 drug testing all year round with VADA. He's being tested. He's the one guy who can truly say when he steps inside the ropes, I'm clean. You don't have to worry about what's going on. Whatever he does throughout this past year, we know he's done it without the aid of performance-enhancing drugs. Unfortunately, to stay on a negative tone, one guy who has always been a proponent of removing steroids and PEDs from the sport and has known the dangers of that has been Emanuel Steward. And unfortunately, we lost Emanuel this year. I think that's going to be, perhaps when we look back at 2012, the major story when we look back. We truly lost a legend in Manny Steward. A
real monumental piece and factor in the world of boxing for decades. The fondest memories I've had from Emanuel Steward is seeing him develop the likes of Tommy the Hitman Hearns, Michael Moore, and just being that community-spirited coach to develop these fighters to get to that next level. I had the privilege of having a couple of my fighters go out to Kronk and work with the Scotty Bowman of boxing. So it touches me deeply hanging out with him this year, not knowing that he was sick and him passing right now. Boxing lost a key component to and the trophy throne of the game.
Well, certainly the end of an era with the passing of Manny Steward. But to switch gears and to get positive here, September 15th, that was supposed to be the end of everything for boxing because we had 2 major fighters in Julio Cesar Chavez and Saul Canelo Alvarez fighting on the same day in the same city on competing networks. And everyone said, why can't promoters and networks just get along and decide to have these guys fighting on different nights? And you know what, RG? It actually turned out to be the night of the year for boxing. It wasn't supposed to work out this way, but it was the best night of the year. It was magical.
The thing is, when you're seeing that type of component of boxing switching over into the same city, you see boxing happen in different states at the same night all the time. But for it to happen in Los Angeles, more or less, I'll say, down the street from one another, and generating good audiences on both ends, being Chavez and Martinez having just a little more of that fanfare and being on a more recognized network as HBO in comparison to Showtime. But at the same time, both shows end up being spectacular. Both these guys, the different type of flair, seeing Lopez try to survive into a fight where he wasn't supposed to be matched up and come across as a game fighter in comparisons to Martinez dominating and nearly getting knocked out in the end, made it dramatic in the state of California.
Yeah, they certainly gave us everything, and Chavez Jr. gave us maybe the most miraculous moment of the year, almost pulling that upset win, Sarah.
Yeah, that was fantastic. All right, thanks, guys. And we're just getting warmed up here. We have a whole lot more boxing to talk about from 2012 and some awards to give out after this next break, so stay with us here on Fight Network's Year in Review on the Sweet Science. You're watching boxing's Year in Review on Fight Network, where we're taking you from top to bottom in 2012. Up next, we're handing out some awards, and for that, we're taking it back over to Corey Erdman. And Corey, what are you starting off with?
We're starting with the fun stuff, of course. Of all the lists we've made on this program, none were more enjoyable to make than deciding on the 5 best fights of the year. Trying to narrow down 12 months of terrific action into a short list was kind of like choosing which candy tastes best or deciding what your favorite holiday is. They're all pretty damn good, but we've cut a giant list down to just 5 based on action, ebb and flow, and the significance of the fight itself. So here they are, Fight Network's 5 best fights of 2012. Number 5, Troy Ross versus Juan Pablo Hernandez. Ross Hernandez showed why the cruiserweight division could be so great. 2 big guys who were still athletic enough to let their hands go and throw with power often. Though the controversial decision wound up being the story, the excellent fight Ross and Hernandez put on shouldn't be overlooked. Number 4, Robert Guerrero and Andre Berto. 2 of the more polarizing figures in the sport didn't produce high expectations for their HBO main event. But even if they had, they would have exceeded them. Guerrero mugged Berto over 12 rounds, while Berto tried furiously to get him off and land home run shots. Both men took everything the other had, but ultimately, Guerrero just dished out too much. Number 3, Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez. As far as significance and the quality of the competitors involved goes, it doesn't get any better than Pacquiao-Marquez 4. The 5th and 6th rounds produced some of the most breathtaking moments of 2012, and the conclusion was the most breathtaking of them all.
Balance again. Now gets his feet back and tries to roar back to nail Pacquiao with the right hand.
Oh!
That's another knockdown.
He's not getting up, Jim.
He get up.
He's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up.
No, he's been knocked out.
Number 2, Brandon Rios and Mike Alvarado. When the fight began, even Max Kellerman said to himself, "I can't believe they made this fight." The style matchup couldn't have been better, as Rios and Alvarado decided to stand in front of one another and trade until someone wilted.
Oh, he's the left and right. Another right hand. Rocks Alvarado. Right hand again. And referee Pat Russell steps in and stops it.
Rios who came out on top, but Alvarado became an action hero overnight as well. Number 1, Orlando Salido and Juan Manuel Lopez 2. Since it happened early in the year, many people forgot how great the rematch between Salido and Lopez really was. Watching it again affirms this one is unforgettable. The 2 champions absorbed dozens of punches that would have ended any other fight, and there were moments when both appeared on their way out. Ultimately, Salido got his affirmation that the first battle was no fluke and produced another classic in the process.
And even after Juan scored the knockdown, and that's a third. It's got Juan. That's what Salido. I don't think he's going to be all over. Salido has knocked him. Just no way to realize where he is right now.
The knockout may be the most exciting occurrence in all of sports. A sudden and dramatic ending that leaves no room for debate as to who was the better man that night. They can put an exclamation mark on a one-sided affair or turn the tables conclusively. 2012 gave us plenty of spectacular knockouts. The final quarter of the year brought about a litany of them, including one that will live on in infamy. Let's check out the best 5 knockouts from 2012. Number 5, Danny Garcia versus Amir Khan.
Third knockdown of the fight. Doing this round.
Number 4, Randall Bailey versus Mike Jones.
Second knockdown. That right uppercut. He may not make it up from that. Now he's going to get up. Rolls back. Big trouble. Big trouble. Knockout victory for Bailey.
Number 3, Mikkel Kessler versus Alan Green.
Его нахождение вот это да.
Мощнейший левый крюк и все.
Number 2, Nonito Donaire versus Jorge Arce.
Well, our fans seem to want a 5th fight, and here's Donaire looking for the knockout. Hand by Donaire. And another left uppercut.
Oh.
And down goes Arce on a brilliant left hook, and that just might be that.
Number 1, Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao.
How close Pacquiao has gotten to him. Marquez was off balance again. Now gets his feet back and tries to roar back to nail Pacquiao with the right hand.
Oh!
That's another knockdown.
He's not getting up, Jim.
He get up.
He's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up.
No, he's been knocked out.
Welcome back to Fight Network's Boxing Year in Review. I'm Corey Erdman. While many of the top names in the sport of boxing are very familiar, Mayweather, Pacquiao, Klitschko, among them is a crop of new talent that came to the forefront in 2012. Every year, new names emerge and help carry the torch for the sweet science. Perhaps more than in any year in recent memory, 2012 had quite the turnover. Suddenly, the face of boxing has a few less wrinkles. Let's take a look at the fighters who truly broke through in 2012. Austin Trout. Trout came up the hard way with no major promoter and forced to fight in his opponent's hometowns. He managed to scoop up a world title, but with no name value in a tricky southpaw style, nobody wanted to take the risk and see just how good he was. Thankfully, Miguel Cotto gave him that shot. He proved to everyone that he's a world-class talent.
If anybody thought Austin Trout was only a finesse fighter, they better think again.
Oh, good uppercut by Austin Trout.
Oh, and Cotto's hurt! Leo Santa Cruz. It's arguable that nobody in the sport throws more punches than Santa Cruz. It's also possible that no world-class fighter is busier in terms of their schedule, as the IBF Bantamweight champion fought 5 times in 2012. To put that into perspective, at the beginning of the year, he was just a prospect. By the end of the year, he defended a world title 3 times and headlined boxing's first network TV show in 15 years.
To the body does the champion. Another left hook, and that one hurt. Zalata, and down he goes.
Andre Ward. He didn't exactly break through in 2012 because we already knew he was the best super middleweight in the world. But after carving up Chad Dawson on HBO, we realized he was one of the best fighters in the world, period. With a likable personality and lots of premium cable exposure, he could break through as the next flag bearer for the sport.
As an amateur who won a gold medal, and now is a pro who won the Super 6 super middleweight tournament and then just beat the best light heavyweight in the world.
Knocked him out.
He's never lost. Are you kidding me? And turns in this performance?
It's an almost unfathomable story.
David Price. The 29-year-old fought 4 times in 2012, blasting out domestic-level opposition in just 8 rounds total. With an 82-inch reach and arrow-straight punching, Price will be a tough night for any heavyweight when he steps up in competition. We haven't seen this kind of buzz about a UK heavyweight perhaps since Frank Bruno. If you're looking for the next heavyweight star, this guy might be it.
That's unbelievable.
In a lot of ways, 2012 will represent a changing of the guard in the sweet science. At the beginning of 2011, names like Cotto, Hopkins, and Juan John Cam all may have received consideration for pound-for-pound status. Manny Pacquiao was a consensus number 1 or 2 pick, and Amir Khan was seen as the next entrant waiting on the front step. Lots has changed over the course of a year, but plenty has stayed the same as well. Now, these lists are certainly subjective, but here's Fight Network's 2012 year-end pound-for-pound rankings. Number 10, Abner Morris. After winning the Showtime Bantamweight tournament, everyone knew Abner Morris was good, but not until he defeated consensus top 10 fighter Anselmo Moreno this year did we know he was elite.
And he hurt him with the right hand, and referee Raul Kais Jr. ruling it a knockdown.
Morris has crafted his own mauling style that has overwhelmed high-level opposition. If Golden Boy and Top Rank can play nice, his next test might be of the highest level, Nonito Donaire. Number 9, Timothy Bradley. Whether you believe he truly beat Manny Pacquiao or not,
Bradley landed a right hand. He thinks for the moment he might have bothered Pacquiao.
there's no debating the fact that Bradley was competitive with the Pac-Man and made his night extremely difficult. Bradley was the top dog at 140, but now sits and waits for someone to fight in 2013. Nobody seems to be lining up for the nightmarish matchup that the Desert Storm presents. Number 8, Vitaly Klitchko. Vitaly had a ho-hum year by his standards, beating Derek Chisora with one arm, and then dominating an outclassed Manuel. No challenges immediately on the horizon for his WBC heavyweight title. Vitaly may ride off into the sunset knowing he and his brother have cleaned out the division. Number 7, Vladimir Klitschko. As the ring heavyweight champion, Vladimir gets the slight edge over his brother. One of the most dominant heavyweights of all time, Dr. Steelhammer picked up 3 wins this year over Jean-Marc Mormec, Tony Thompson, and Marius Watt. A bout with Tyson Fury seems to be on the docket, and after that, it'll be a while before there's a young challenger for his throne. Number 6, Manny Pacquiao. One punch changed everything for Manny Pacquiao. Prior to December 8th, many people had him ranked number 1 on their pound-for-pound lists. But after getting spectacularly knocked out by Juan Marquez, he takes a significant dip in the rankings.
It's gotten to him. Marquez was off balance again. Now gets his feet back and tries to roar back to nail Pacquiao with the right hand.
Oh!
That's another knockdown.
He's not getting up, Jim.
He get up.
He's not getting up, Jim. He's not getting up.
No, he's been knocked out.
Combine that knockout with a disputed loss to Timothy Bradley and a disputed win over Juan Marquez in their third encounter, and we have a fighter clearly in decline. Number 5, Nonito Donaire. While one Filipino star is in decline, another started to shine brightly in 2012. Donaire collected 4 wins, a significant feat for an elite fighter in 1 year. Though moving to super bantamweight seemed like a risky proposition at first, he's begun ending fights in style.
He's trying to blink through it and get to the end of this round.
Good right hand by Donaire. And another left uppercut.
Oh.
And down goes Arce on a brilliant left hook. And that just might be that.
Before long, he could be one of the faces of the sport. It is, he isn't already. Number 4, Sergio Martinez. Martinez overcame a serious scare against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Left eye.
Half a round left.
Plenty of time.
Oh, there you go. There he is. He's down.
Solidified 2 things. 1, his place as the best middleweight in the world.
But on the strength of his dominance through the first 11 rounds, Sergio Martinez has the victory he so coveted and has fully established himself once again as the legitimate middleweight champion of the world.
2, a monster payday for a rematch against Junior. Number 3, Andre Ward. Ward fought just once in 2013, but his was the most dominant and impressive performance of the year. In dominating Chad Dawson, Ward showed punching power not previously attributed to him.
There's a burgeoning wellspring of talent at 160, and some of those fighters are relatively large 160s, and Ward just rocked Dawson again with another left hook, and Dawson's legs are gone.
After embarrassing most of the big names at 168, thanks to the Super 6 World Boxing Classic, he'll face Kelly Pavlik before possibly eyeing a move to light heavyweight. Number 2, Juan Marquez. Marquez gave all the fans who believed he was a better fighter than Manny Pacquiao all these years confirmation, as he also gave us an iconic boxing moment on December 8th.
No, he's been knocked out! A sensational right-hand knockout by a bloodied Juan Marquez, and that is the keystone moment of his career.
Dinamita may fight Pacquiao for a 5th time, or possibly match up with Brandon Rios or Timothy Bradley. Or he may walk away on the highest of notes. If he does, he'll do so as one of the greatest fighters not just today, but of all time. Number 1, Floyd Mayweather. Money May might have looked a little more vulnerable than usual in defeating Miguel Cotto, but he still comfortably defeated a future Hall of Famer and did so at 154 pounds.
Cotto was staggered by that uppercut.
It seems he'll stay there for the time being. He could face the biggest opponent of his career in Saul Canelo Alvarez on May 5th weekend, Cinco de Mayweather. In doing so, he'll likely hand himself a career-high payday. Without question, money still rules the boxing world. sport that sees its top stars typically fight once or twice a year, Nonito Donaire is an outlier in every sense of the word. Donaire racked up 4 victories in 2012, all over credible opposition, and finished the final 2 fights in dramatic fashion. The Filipino Flash challenged himself and moved up to super bantamweight, facing opponents bigger than him for the first time in his career. He clearly defeated Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. and Jeffrey Matabula, but had some difficulty at times. And while that would have been enough for most fighters, especially considering a nagging hand injury, Donaire decided to fight 2 more times. He dominated consensus division kingpin Toshiaki Nishioka, and then he knocked out stablemate and friend Jorge Arce, sending the future Hall of Famer into retirement. With lightning hand speed, one-punch knockout power, and raw athleticism that may be unmatched in the sport, Donaire could turn out to be the next big star in the sport of boxing. He just picked up his first $1 million payday, and as Manny Pacquiao continues to decline, he may be the heir to the Filipino boxing throne. In any event, however, Donaire is the undisputed Fight Network Fighter of the Year. While it's a tired but popular opinion to suggest that the sport of boxing is dead, the reality is that a wildly successful 2012 has given us more to look forward to in the coming year than we have at year's end in a very long time. In a year that has produced 3 million plus buy pay-per-views, a record-breaking fight purse, attendance records at the Thomas & Mack Center, and a return to network television, the health of the sport is not something to worry about. As we embark upon 2013, there are already exciting events on the calendar. Orlando Salido and Mikey Garcia are already set to fight in January on HBO, and Danny Garcia faces Zab Judah in February on Showtime. Tentatively scheduled for March is the return of Bernard Hopkins, who gets his choice of light heavyweight titleists and tries to put gold around his waist at the tender age of 48. And finally, the cash cow of the sport, Floyd Mayweather, makes his annual May appearance and will likely do so against Saul Canelo Alvarez. It may be the biggest Cinco de Mayweather celebration yet, and his richest fight to date. Sarah, from the looks of it, it's going to be a happy new year for the Sweet Science.
Very much looking forward to it, and thanks for everything, Corey. And there you have everything you need to remember 2012 in boxing as a year full of controversy, shocking knockouts, and breakout stars. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for all the boxing we will bring you in 2013.